Hey, welcome in everybody for the Friday night show. Let's throw some Packer outright opinions around. There's so much happening in Packer world. I apologize. StreamYard has been a little, the platform was a little finicky last week. We're hoping it's not going to be finicky this week. If it does, let us know in the comments and we'll apologize, but we'll probably just have to keep going because there's so much to talk about. We have guests this week. Ben's happy there's guests.
Yes.
We have many things to talk about, and we're not going to tell a long story off the top. We're going to jump right into Packer stuff.
We can't do that today.
No, we got too much to talk about.
Too much.
We all knew once, Mr. Rodgers made his decision that everything would start to happen, and man, is it happening. So,
not just Packers, like the whole freaking NFL is insane. Insane stuff is going on.
Yeah.
There's been more humongous big-time players getting traded and all this kind of crap last week, more than I could ever remember in one offseason. So it's crazy.
One quick thing of note, just a heads up, Russell Wilson got his picture with Nathaniel Hackett and the GM, and apparently Nathaniel Hackett and the GM are also 5'9", because they all look the same height. Just a heads up, just so you know that. It's just a side note. Okay, we got the big note right off the top, which is here he is, Raider Ric, to tell everybody about how excited he is to have a nearly 30-year-old Davante Adams on his squad.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'll tell you, the one good thing with this is that when I saw the Raiders had traded Ngakoue, I was really afraid that meant they were clearing room to bring in Za'Darius. So at least that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But, man, I think they are overpaying him, not in so much what they traded to the Packers. I don't think they overpaid in the trade. I think that was pretty fair. I've heard some people saying that Green Bay should have got a lot more, but really, no. I mean, the contract was going to hamstring them. It's one of those cases where the trade partner knows that, so I think that was a pretty reasonable offer, right? But yeah, what, $28 million a year?
The 12th highest paid player in the NFL. He makes more money than Derek Carr right now.
Well, I mean, look, the MVP called him the most dominant player he's
most
ever played with last year.
Player.
So
okay.
You just got the most dominant player Aaron Rodgers ever played with. Well, how do you feel about that, Raider Ric?
Well, there's one ball and a lot of mouths to feed. I feel like, the last couple of weeks have reminded me a bit of the NBA where, just crazy moves happening, building dream teams. So just on the surface, sure, the Raiders' offense is looking pretty good, assuming they can put together an offensive line. But, they got a solid running game. They're not afraid to use it. I'm assuming that McDaniel will continue with that. But, okay, so assuming defenses are still willing to double-team Devante or think they have to double-team Devante, you got Renfro who's going to be running all over the place and getting open. If Waller comes back and is healthy, he's not afraid to tear it up over the middle. So, Carr's going to have options. It's just a matter of you going to keep these guys happy, right? I mean, each of them is used to getting the ball a lot. So, one ball to go around. We'll see. But, it could give defensive coordinators a headache, right? Again, who do you double team and all that? Someone's going to be open. I think you still got the running game to worry about.
We have another guest, and we want to bring him in real quick just to ask him about his I have a question for Bruce here. Bruce, do teams need to double team Davante Adams? That was what happened a lot, but do they need to? Why do they do that?
I didn't get that from you. What about Davante Adams?
Oh, why do teams need to double team him?
Why do they need to double team him?
Why do they think they need?
Because he runs great routes. Oh. That's why.
Okay.
I had to do it, Ben. I had to do it. No, I mean he's good. He's great. He has great feet. And I mean he's speed wise. Is he great with speed? No. Can he get deep on people? He can because of his feet and because he runs such good routes. I mean, that's ultimately what Adams is so good at. And then he has great hands, obviously. those are the things that he's good at. But again, he doesn't have the speed. He can't just run by somebody, so he has to do it with how good a routes he runs and how good his feet is, and that's what he does. So
all right,
and that's why they have to double team him.
Okay, Raider Ric. So back to you. Just give you a little final piece on this. So Davante Adams, Derek Carr, they're best friends, great buddies, all that stuff. You would think that there's still some chemistry there, but it's been a while since they played together. So how long do you anticipate the chemistry to come back and those guys to be clicking on all cylinders here?
Assuming that everyone shows up for camp, I think it'll come back pretty quickly, right? I mean, they're both veterans. To Bruce's point, and to your question to Bruce, I don't know if teams will have to double team him with the Raiders, whereas on Green Bay, you knew the ball was going there, 75 or 80% of the time. So why not double team him? That said, as I mentioned to you guys in text, I think that Carr has shown the tendency to get tunnel vision too, especially when down late or he's having a rough game. There were certainly times that he'd just lock in on Waller and force the ball and not even be close on some of those throws. Last year, I think it was a playoff game, basically the same type of play that ended the Packers season where he was trying to get the ball to Renfro and there's guys wide open all over the place, but he's just locked in on throwing into triple coverage. So, I think that'll come pretty quickly. I still think Davante's going to see a lot of double teams or at least help on that side. So the question is, will he be as effective if the ball's not coming right there at the same time, right? I mean, a lot of his effectiveness, I think, was the timing and chemistry he had with Rodgers. I think Carr throws a decent ball. I think they'll develop that. But if Adams starts getting hammered, having to go up for balls or reach for balls, is he going to be trying as hard, right? I mean, I'd wait and see, right? I mean, that's the case with any receiver, but we'll see if he's still as effective if those balls aren't coming in right over his shoulder or right in his fingertips every time. But, I'm trying to look at the positive side. They're spending a small fortune on the guy. Hopefully, at least there's 2 years of honeymoon period where things are going well and the offense clicks along and they can make a decent showing in the AFC West, which seems to be the hot division this year. I mean, certainly looking like that's the one that's going to be catching people's attention, at least at the start of the season. So, yeah. At least Green Bay has money. They can go get some other guys now.
Yeah, that's true. Frees up some room. Ben, you haven't spoken. What do you? How are you feeling about things that are said about Davante Adams? What do you have to say about Davante Adams leaving the Packers?
Well, I have my Ben's top 10 reasons Davante left Green Bay. We'll go real quick, but you guys, if you want to say something about it, go ahead. Number 10, just get out of Green Bay. I mean, it's boring. It's all a bunch of white people, so I'm sure he sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't want to be there as much. Nothing to do. He's like, I'm out. I'm sick of this place. It sucks. So that's number 10. Number 9, Rick just alluded to it. Play with other top weapons on the field, which sounds dumb because you're like, whoa, doesn't he love getting every target? Doesn't he love being the only guy? Probably. But if he wants to win, he knows from 3 years in a row with the Packers, you have to have guys around you. And Darren Waller will open up a lot. And Hunter Renfro will benefit as well as the Julian Edelman. I don't know quite what. Like, if this is the Josh McDaniels Patriots offense. I don't know who Devante is. He's certainly not Randy Moss from the back in the day. He's more of a possession-y guy. But Darren Waller can take the top off the defense, and that can change that. So, and Rick kind of talked about that. Number 8 is just Vegas. He loves Vegas. He wants to live in Vegas. He's already got a house there. What the hell? It's easy.
No taxes, right? No state tax.
I didn't get it.
Oh,
Number
sorry.
8.
Darn it.
Yeah, we're doing the order of things. Ding dong. Number 7, he wants to prove that it was him who's great. Not just Rodgers throwing him exactly perfect passes when he's actually still covered. We don't want to talk about that. But, he wants to prove that. Number 6, he wants to just get away from the Rodgers drama, right? We know Rodgers is going to be Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? This is going to be all Brett Favre all over again. And why would he come back to sign for 5 more years and then have next thing you know, oh, Jordan Love's throwing me the ball? We saw what that happened in Kansas City. No thanks. I'll go where Derek Carr is. No, though Derek Carr is only in the last year of his contract, right, Rick? Yeah, so they better extend Derek Carr, or else it could be Davante Adams getting catches and passes from
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love. Again, yeah, who knows? They may be able to do that trade too. Number 5. It's his childhood team. He grew up in California. Oakland's his team, right? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I bet you Rodgers is jealous of him right now. It'd be like, J.J. Watt coming to the pack, which didn't happen, but whatever. So that's number 5. Number 4, he realizes that Rodgers is a two-faced, selfish, butthole diva baby, and he don't want to deal with that crap anymore. Because he thought him and Rodgers were tight. But who's the guy that Rodgers bent backward to make sure he could come back? Randall Cobb. And who's the guy that he took a whole crap ton of money so that the guy doesn't have money left over for him? Davante Adams. Maybe he realizes Rodgers isn't really his good pal. He just told him that because he knew he was the only weapon he had and he wanted to throw it to him all the time. And now that he's not there no more.
Remember that Rodgers calls a lot of people his close friends.
I know.
And I don't know that
he
they
called
really
Pat
are.
McAfee his close friend after only meeting him on the Pat McAfee show like twice. So I don't think Rodgers has that many friends or really knows what a friend is. He surely doesn't know what a family member is. Oh, snap. Okay, back to my list. Number 3, Goody. Devante feels slighted because he could have had a contract extension, and he feels he should have had a contract extension for the last year. And Goody in the front office have been pushing it off because they didn't want to pay the money to him. Pushing it off, making it actually go higher and higher and higher because every time they push it off, another receiver gets a bigger contract, and then you're like, crap. It's almost a Dak Prescott crap with the Cowboys. But the difference was Goody's like, you know what? I don't think you're that great. And Davante's like, you don't love me. I'm leaving. So that's number 3. Number 2, the money and the no taxes in Vegas. And people are saying, well, the Packers matched his money. Nah, okay, fine. But the Packers probably matched his money and then had a bunch of weird void years and all this other crap, right? The Raiders contract is straight up crap ton of money, $28 freaking million a year. It's guaranteed dough every year. Like it's a crippling contract to the Raiders. Sorry, Rick, but it is. And
that's how they operate.
I know, and that's so the money could probably be number 1. But I'm saying number 1 because I think Davante is, as much as we give crap to Davante, I think he is a really good guy. I think he is a really great player. And I think the number 1 reason why he wanted to go to the Raiders is Derek Carr. I think him and Derek Carr really do have a great connection after all these years. And he had that connection with him. And then he played 8 years with Rodgers, and he saw what a diva baby looks like, and he's like, I'm out. Bring me back to the guy who's cool. Bring me back to the guy who's a true leader. Bring me back to the guy who wants to do stuff for the team, who showed how last year the whole team was falling apart, and he let him. He should have been MVP last year, not Rodgers. Derek Carr is the number 1 reason Davante's going to the Raiders. There you go. Ben's top 10 reasons why Davante Adams wanted out of town. Thank you, Davante. We get 2 first picks and $20 million in cap space, and probably, hopefully, Rasul Douglas back. I haven't heard that yet. Anybody know?
It's
I want
not
Douglas
official,
back.
but that's rumored.
Let's get it done already. Back to
on
you.
Yeah.
Ben's top 10s. We're out.
So,
They're working on it.
Quick question following up on that, right? So it was reported that Devante had tweeted, Instagrammed, whatever, his little deal about getting tagged and feeling betrayed by number 12. Like,
He tweeted that?
Really?
it was like a statement. I'll have to dig it up now. I don't want to be without a source, but this was big news like last week.
Just remember, Rick, so there's only one award-winning journalist on the show. So you don't have to be held to that same standard, just so you're aware.
I think
but I mean,
thing
it's
got
nice.
small. I think your plaque got smaller.
It's just that way back there behind me. I mean, it's the same size
It's the
plaque.
camera angle, right? I mean,
Oh, you
And
gotta
camera,
change-
exactly. Camera tricks.
all right, let me see if I can find this quick. So anyway, it was just, I guess my question is like, if, assuming that this was an accurate quote, that he felt betrayed by Rodgers, like, what was that? Was it the contract thing? Because realistically, who would have thought really that the team would be able to pay Rodgers what he was asking and Devante what he was asking and be able to find even guys playing for the minimum to be able to fill out the roster after that, right? So it's just the money thing that doesn't really make sense or it'd be kind of naive. So, is it the way things were handled at the start of the last 2 seasons, right? Where it's like, was there sincere, let's go all in, and then it turns into whining, like, I'm going to do this, no, I'm not. Like, is that what he might have been referring to? Like, it was just never clear in the context of this what exactly it stemmed from. But let me see if I can find the quote while I'm doing this. So it's going to be boring while I look at my phone.
So while you look at it, I'm going to say one quick thing. So there was a story that totally downplayed this because Davante Adams publicly said how unhappy he was about the contract last year. Like, he came out and said it at press conferences.
Oh yeah.
And then people asked him, would you take a discount to continue to stay in Green Bay? And he said right out, not going to happen. Not happening. He wanted to be the highest paid dude, wide receiver, and that was what he wanted. That was his number one goal. Okay, continue on, Rick.
All right, Rick, my source, NFC North News on Twitter, whoever that is. But I had seen this posted other places too. So according to this, Devante, commenting on his franchise tag, said, "You can't just stick me with the short end of the stick and expect me to take it. I love 12. But it's my turn to get paid, and I kind of felt a little betrayed by him." Now, when I first heard that, or first read that, it's like, how do you feel betrayed by the guy who's throwing you the ball nonstop last year, like almost making the point, like, this is the guy, right? I mean, whether you like him or not, that's clearly a factor in you trying to warrant the top receiver money, right? I mean, if Rodgers wasn't looking at him all the time, he wouldn't have those numbers, and there's no way he'd be able to make this case for being the top-paid receiver, right? So then getting into the contract thing, like, how many top-paid position guys can you have on a team with a salary cap, regardless of whether or not contracts are real with the void years and whatever other crap? So, what is it? Is it, the way things were going with the team, not showing up for camp? Like, I don't know. I guess I'd just be curious to find out what the context was or what the betrayal was exactly. Like, is it just money or was there something more to it? Like,
I can tell you exactly what it is. Rodgers last year said the people and the people and the people. It's the people and the people and it's the people.
Not about the money, Ben.
And remember what I said? I said, no. It's the Rodgers and the Rodgers and the Rodgers. You change people to the Rodgers. And then what do you have? The Green Bay Rodgers. It's no longer the Green Bay Packers. It's now the Green Bay Rodgers. He's even worse than Brett Favre. He's worse than Brett Favre. Because Brett Favre just blatantly was like a big jerk face. Rodgers is like, I'm cool. But really, in the back of it, he's like a freaking jerk face. And Devante finally figured it out. It took finally watching him get $150 million guaranteed on a contract that's going to cripple the pack no matter what happens, whether he retires soon, later, never, they trade him, whatever. It's either going to be stuck with us or he's going to play or what. He got his money. Whatever he wanted, he got his money. And part of it also is the Packers' problem. They keep doing the stupid, he's the best player in the league at his position. There's no freaking way we have every best player in the league at their position. David Bakhtiari is the best left tackle. Jair Alexander is the best cornerback. Kenny Clark is the best defensive tackle. Really, even though Aaron Donald's the best player in the NFL. But okay, sure, go ahead. Davante Adams is the number one receiver in the league. Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback in the history of all time. Okay, we can't have... If we had that, how do we not have a freaking Super Bowl every goddamn year? But the Packers pay these morons like they're the top every time. And after a while, you can't do it anymore. And then when your age equals past this threshold, the Packers say, sorry, you might be the best receiver in the league, but I can't pay you. Left tackles can play until they're 40. We just watched, Whitworth, play till he's 41, right? Kenny Clark's super young. Aaron Rodgers could play till he's a million years old. Jair is still waiting for his second contract. Davante, this is your third contract. You're a receiver. You're old and you're slow. Sorry, it ends with you. And he had to get the wake-up call. And then he felt betrayed because, let's face it, he's a selfish receiver. It's not his fault. I don't think he's a bad guy. But he honestly thought he's the best thing in the world. And when the Packers throw out money to Dave Bakhtiari and Kenny Clark, here, you have some money, and you have some, you get the best money, and then he doesn't get that? Yeah, he's going to be all butthurt about it. That's what happened. That's what happened. What do you think, Bruce? Oh, he's eating. Forget it. I just wanted you to talk for a while. I didn't realize you were eating. The one time I go to Bruce, he's eating. What the crap?
Sorry, I have a jalapeno garlic olive in my mouth.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Wow.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
good stuff.
Operate with that. Go for it.
Yeah.
All right. Heather doesn't want to kiss later. I can tell you that.
I don't get it anyway that way. So. Yeah,
hey, all right. He just goes straight for it. Okay.
I think this is after 9 o'clock show. All right, continue.
No kissing. He just goes straight from.
I said kissing. I didn't say anything else. You guys are taking this thing.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Fair enough.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting. All your points and stuff like that. But I mean, I wouldn't have paid Devante that money either. I mean, I'm just being honest about it. And the reason why is because he doesn't have the speed that a elite receiver needs to be paid, $28 million. No offense, Rick, by the way, but I mean,
preaching to the choir.
Usually, let's give the Raiders a little credit. At least they did something different what they normally do.
No.
Normally they overpay for speed guys. And in this time, they overpaid for a slow guy. So, at least they're switching it up. They're trying something different. So,
And I by the way, I agree with Ben. And I mean, he's a great receiver. He does a lot of things well. He's a good guy, all that type of stuff. But, I mean, ultimately, it still comes down to what can you do on the field. And, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to say this right now. I'm going to make this call. Derek Carr is a solid quarterback, but Adams' numbers are not going to be the same over at the Raiders. They're just not going to be. He's going to be maybe an 800 to 1,000-yard receiver is what he's going to be. And, maybe he'll have, a decent amount of touchdowns because they'll throw it to him down at the goal line. I don't know. But ultimately, he's just not going to be the same receiver. It's not going to be where Greg Jennings went to Minnesota and, didn't have a quarterback, basically. It's not going to be that. But at the same time, it's going to be just not going to be the same. So he's going to realize really quick, even though maybe he doesn't like the Roger Diva baby deal, he's going to realize eventually that, oh crap, maybe I made the wrong decision. Although, again, I'm buddies with Derek Carr, and that's all great and that's all fine. But is he going to win a Super Bowl at the Raiders? I don't think so. I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm making the call right now. He's not going to be as good in a Raiders uniform. He's just not going to be. Rodgers made him look better than he actually is. Now, is he a good receiver? Absolutely. Is he, the number one receiver in the NFL? No. He's not. Is he top 5? Maybe.
So
But
I apologize.
he's not number one.
We're having a little bit of an issue here. We got a little crackling and we got a little finicky. The StreamYard's been finicky lately. I apologize. Let them know. Gage, you got to fix that crap. Bruce, I think, or what happened was Bruce was trying to make a point that was so out of bounds that the internet just tried to shut you down, Bruce. That might have been the case too. I'm not sure. No, I'm just playing. But you broke up there. But I think so. Go for it again. You sound more solid now. Rick's back. Give it another shot here. Just that last part you're talking about how you don't think Adams is going to be the same type of receiver. Let me ask you this though: do you think that's partly because he's not going to get the same amount of targets, nor should he, right? If the Raiders want to run an offense.
Very true. I mean, that's going to be part of it as well. But also, kind of like Rick said, I think there's a chemistry between Adams and Rodgers that, maybe Derek Carr and him don't have at this point. Maybe they will eventually get it back, from Fresno State. But I think and again, this is my opinion, and I know Rodgers is a pain in our ass, and I know he's scored. Sorry, I swore on the show
It's
again.
okay.
Apologize for that.
You're fine, Bruce.
You're
fine.
There's a lot of things that we don't like about Aaron sometimes, but the guy is one of the most talented QBs to ever play the game, and that is a big difference when it comes to getting receivers the football, and you're going to see that when he is with the Raiders. And if I'm wrong, you can certainly rip me on it, but I'm telling you, it's going to show. It's going to show, and I believe that he's just not going to be as good in a Raiders uniform just because of that reason.
I think a couple things play into it. I think one, Ben, you're muted, so which right now is fine because I wanted to talk. I think a couple things play into that. Davante is going to be older. He's going to be aging during this time, which is going to, he's already had injury. He's been injured almost every single year, right? I mean, he's missed at least a couple games almost every single year. If I'm not correct, I think he's only played 2 seasons all the games, and so you've got that history there. Then you got the rest of this. The other thing, and a reason why, and I'm sorry about this too, Rick, that you paid him top dollar, that I don't think you should, is he's just not that great after the catch. Like he can't break tackles. He's shifty, but he's not shifty in a way that allows him to beat guys to actually break, a short play into a big play. So it's weird, when you put his skill set together and you think about all that stuff, but he does most of his work before he catches the ball. And then there's not a lot that happens usually after he catches the ball. So
also,
that's not a top tier guy to me,
A shout out to Mom. Mom brought this up the other day. How many times do you watch Devante catch the ball and then just run out of bounds right away? Like, he doesn't extend plays ever. And sometimes, the ball's thrown that way because it's Rodgers. He doesn't want to throw a pick, so he throws it, and then Devante catches it, and then he goes out of bounds. But there's other times where he catches it, and instead of trying to beat a guy and get around him, he just runs out of bounds or just walks out of bounds sometimes because he doesn't want to get hit, doesn't want, you know what I'm saying? And those are things that happen. Now, I don't remember what I was going to say before. Oh,
I got what? I was
just going to say, I think Bruce says he thinks Davante's not going to be as good. I think Davante, the numbers aren't going to be as good. But I think the play on the field is going to be just as good, if not better, because I think he'll be open more. I think Derek Carr will throw it to him in stride instead of just when he's wide open or whatever, or covered by a guy and then blanketed, and then as soon as he catches it, he gets tackled because he's not open yet. And I think Darren Waller will open things up for him, as well as Hunter Renfrow in the slot. And I think they'll do. I don't think they'll just use them as, hey, Davante, you're over here by yourself, beat your guy, and the other 3 guys are over here. I think they'll, use the pieces together, hopefully more, with that Patriots offense and Josh McDaniels. So, I agree the numbers aren't going to be there, but I bet you his yards per catch goes up. He might not have as many touchdowns or as many receptions, but I bet you his yards per catch go up. So that's the only thing I would say.
Fair enough. I wanted to say one other quick thing of note, because I saw like a clip video when there was, still talk about, the Denver news and things like that. And somebody shared a piece on Cortland Sutton, right? Or Sutton?
Cortland Sutton.
Right. And there were plays like the ball wasn't thrown that great, but he went up and got it. Like, he went up over defenders that were inside and balls inside. He goes over the top and freaking attacks the ball and makes catches. And I'm sorry, Davante Adams has had plays like that in recent years where he didn't fight through that. He didn't really attack the ball if it wasn't thrown in a spot where he had to fight through some traffic to get to it. And he also showed you, just quick example, and I understand receivers aren't guys that are generally going to go and get dirty. But if you go back and if you think about the last game the Packers played, and a very critical turnover was Big Dog's fumble, right? And he was the closest guy to that ball, but he didn't really want in on that. He didn't go after it when the ball's on the ground. So I want dudes that are going to attack the ball. That ball's as much yours as anybody else's. Go and get it. And while he makes incredible plays, I don't think attacking the ball consistently is something that he always did.
And he doesn't run block at all.
All that too, yeah.
So he doesn't fit in the Packers offense. He'll fit in the Raiders offense because they don't need to run block.
All right, Rick, we're going to wrap it up on Devante here. We got a lot of stuff to move on to.
We should give Rick the last word, though.
Rick, last word on Devante, all you.
Yeah, put it on me. That's right. Okay, there you go.
I gotta switch stuff around. I'm the producer and the host. Give me a freaking break, boy.
They're paying him a lot. They're paying him a lot.
I'm underpaid. I want a better contract, and I want you to give me more money.
Hey, quit interrupting our guests.
All right,
Shut
go,
up.
Rick. I'm sorry.
Mute yourself.
They're paying him a lot. I hope they get something in return. At least he's on the field most of the games. I'm a little concerned that maybe if he gets hit, it's not going to be as much fun. On the other hand, regarding Ben's comment about him running out of bounds a lot, like you said, that's where Rodgers was throwing the ball. If you get him involved in plays going over the middle or going deep, maybe he's got a chance to extend some of those plays. But when all the plays are made tiptoeing on the sideline, how many of those catches was he already going out of bounds anyway? So, is that an aversion to contact? Is it just he got used to not getting hit? We'll see. I guess I'm curious. I'm going to remain open on this. I don't love the move, but since we got him, hopefully we get some return on it, and it's not just a lot of wasted money, and they cut ties with him in 2 years. So now hopefully Green Bay uses that money, go sign a decent replacement, draft some young guys that got some speed, and get Rodgers to spread the ball around. I think the two of them just got complacent with each other, and the two of them separate now might be able to get back on track and see some flashes of what they've done in the past, but now separately instead of together. So go Pack, go Raiders. Speed kills unless you're Devante or Mercedes.
All right, thanks, Rick. We appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time. Best of luck to you and your Raiders. I'm not sure it'll work out, but we hope for you.
1 year.
I don't know. 1 year at a time. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, Rick, you mentioned cutting some ties and freeing up some money. Bruce, this is where you can shine. I mean, Ben will want to chime in on this too, but we have been calling on it. We have been calling for it for 2 years, for two guys in particular, the Slack brothers, as we like to call them. And they were both cut by the Packers. A very smart move, a needed move, and a necessary move, and one that we were ready to play Cool in the Gang celebration on the show, but then we would break, copyright laws and all that stuff. So anyway, Bruce, Billy Turner and Sleepy Zadarius Smith, both cut from the Packers. What do you think about that?
Well, Z Smith was a no-brainer. I mean, he was making tons of money. He doesn't stop the run. All he does is try to sack the quarterback. And it's great that he can get 12 or 13 sacks in a year. But if that's all what all you're trying to do, then you should have 20. I'm sorry, but and if you get blacked by a cornerback, when you remember that, yeah, when you get blocked by a cornerback, that's the problem. So absolutely great move, should have been done, no brainer. Turner, I was a little surprised, and I don't like the guy. Okay, and ultimately he, are we going to miss him a ton? Probably not. But I was a little surprised because when you look at the amount of money they actually saved by cutting him, they probably could have adjusted his contract and, saved the same amount of money and they had the depth. You know what I mean? So that I was a little surprised by that.
That tells you something, Rick. That tells you they finally figured it out. They Bruce.
Yeah. Well,
they finally looked at the tape, Bruce. They finally said, "Hey, guess what? This guy sucks. Why the hell do we have him on this team? Yeah. He blocks for 0 seconds. He plays tag with guys. He doesn't freaking do his job." And unlike all the other guys who they're extending out into the void year land, they're like, Billy Turner sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could have just extended him out at another year, another void year, and freaking lowered his cap, and he'd still be on the team. And they realized, you know what? It's better. We're a better team without Billy Turner on it. Period. That's why they cut him. Same thing with Zadarius Smith. We're a better team without him on the field. And the defense was way better last year without Zadarius on the field. I know everybody thinks it was just Devondre Campbell showing up. That miraculously he's the greatest. Been in the league for 5 years or whatever or longer, and he was average for all these years. And all of a sudden he plays with the Packers and he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. No. He's good, and I'm glad he's back, but it's mostly Za'Darius wasn't there just taking plays off all the damn time.
And I agree with you.
So anyway, back to you. But I think that's the thing about Billy. I just wanted to point that out about Billy Turner. You're exactly right. They could have extended him. They could have done all these things. Yeah, he's a depth guy who knows all the positions. They finally figured out what we've been talking about for frickin' 2 frickin' years. Actually 3, but 2 where I've had video evidence on this show showing the Billy Turner problem has finally been taken care of. I've never been more happy in my life than when I saw that they cut him. And Za'Darius. I was just like, what? Somebody watches this show on the Packers front office. They must. But it just took them, 2 or 3 years to find us.
We've said it before that there is somebody within the Packers organization that watches our show because these things, we'll talk about these things, we'll say them, nobody else is saying them, and then all of a sudden something happens that we were just talking about. So maybe that person doesn't have, maybe it's like some random scout that nobody listens to most of the time, but they just keep bringing the message and finally they got it. Look, Billy Turner, come on. The other part, hopefully, that this says to me is that they are going to offer Yash a reasonable contract, like a 3-4 year contract, not a 1 year bring him back for this BS kind of contract, get him on the cheap, like and make him their priority starting at right guard or right tackle, excuse me. Mm-hmm. And then also, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, then you take Royce Newman and you train him up to be your swing backup tackle. Like that should be the plan. So hopefully that's what this says to all of us as Packers fans. I hope.
Bruce, you probably forgot what you're talking about. You're talking about Billy Turner.
No, and I agree. I agree 100% with what you guys are saying. Turner should be gone. I was just saying that I was surprised just because of the money. It wasn't really that big a deal. But I agree with you 100%. I'm glad he's gone. I don't think we're going to miss him. But at the same time, I agree. We have to keep Yash. I mean, he'd be a great right tackle, and he'd be a good backup left tackle. I mean, you have to have that for depth. And also, where do you find good right and left tackles? He's got great feet. He's big. He can get stronger yet, as far as I'm concerned. So you gotta lock him up, and you can lock him up now for cheaper, way cheaper.
Yeah.
And a year or two from now, if for some reason you kept him for a year or two, and then all of a sudden he had another great year as a starting tackle, you got to do it now. So, and again, if Bach has problems, in a year or two, then you can get rid of Bach and you can move Yash over there and maybe move Jenkins over to right tackle or vice versa. You got options. So agree completely with Yash. So they better get it done. So I'm on board with both of you guys as far as what you're talking about.
And so maybe like the other part with Za'Darius is why you absolutely don't need him is because you got Rashawn Gary. You saw him in more prominent playing time last year, what he can do. He's the number 12 pick in the draft a couple years ago. You got to let the dude play 80%, 85% of the snaps. Like that's what he needs to be. And so when Za'Darius is there and all that money, then you're still going to have this rotation and he's not going to be utilized enough. And the same, and maybe the Billy Turner cut is a GM move to save the coaches from making the wrong decision again by putting that guy in. So you're just like, no. You guys keep screwing this up. This guy, we just get him out of here, and then you can't put him on the field. Now figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, Goody's
because
like, I feel like signed him to
sometimes
be a valuable guy who can play multiple positions, not a starter at every position all the time.
Yep.
And
I feel like GMs have to do that sometimes. Like the coaches, are making some of these decisions, and the GM is like, okay, I put together the roster. You guys decide who plays. But sometimes you're evaluating. You're like, this guy they put him on the field, and he keeps stinking up the joint. Well, if I make sure he's not on the roster anymore, then they got to figure out a different solution.
Yeah, you ever see Moneyball? You ever see the movie Moneyball?
I haven't, but
well, that happens in Moneyball. It's awesome.
That makes sense. Yeah,
because like Brad Pitt's guy, the guy he plays, Bean or whatever his name is, they signed all these guys that nobody wanted, right? But they did the research on it that they're good hitters and they're like, well, and the general manager's like, well, he can't field, he sucks. And he's like, I don't care how he fields. I care that a guy gets on base. Play the guys I want you to play. Trust me, it'll work. And then the general manager of the team keeps playing the guys he thinks are better, because he's an old guy who's like, oh, this is the way it goes. And then finally, Brad Pitt's guy's like, screw this. He traded Giambi away. He freaking cut this other guy. He freaking got rid of this other dude. And he's like, there you go. Now you have to play him. You got nobody else. and GM was pissed, but it's like, dude. And I know I'm saying GM, whatever, the coach, whatever. The main coach on the field for baseball. I don't know what the hell they call those guys.
Manager. They're just managers.
Yeah, just manager. Yeah. But he had no choice. So back to you. He had to play Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt had to play first base. He had no choice, even though he was fat back then.
Well, let me say something else with what you guys were talking about. Hey, maybe Nyman doesn't want to play for the Packers anymore because of what Matt LaFleur did in that playoff game. I mean, he pulled him for Turner when he was playing phenomenal football. He'd done everything we'd asked him to do, and you pull him and you put Turner in. And I'm not saying, and again, I guess I didn't look at it to the point where I know, if Turner played that well or not. But the point is you don't do that to somebody. You don't do that to somebody that's playing well and that's done everything you asked him to do, and has done the job all year long that he's been put in that position at that point in time. So I don't know.
Well, you do it if it's Royce Newman though.
Yeah,
They did the same thing to Royce, and they put Lukey Patrick in, which was the smart move. But
yeah.
Well, come on, that was but it's a very good point, Bruce, and they've done it before, but Yash was like, I don't know, I hope that isn't any hard feelings, whatever. They were just like, oh, we're gonna go to the vets because it's a playoff game and all this blah blah blah. But the thing is, Yash was clearly, it was interesting. I remember back when they decided to go with him because they had Jenkins playing left tackle, right? Then Jenkins got hurt. And then they were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then Steno, the brilliant Steno, said, I'm thinking Yash. I remember Rodgers saying that in one of his things. He's like, I'm thinking Yash. And so then they put Yash out there, and yeah, he never looked back. And we finally saw why they kept him on the roster all these years. And we're like, who is this guy? He's huge. He never plays. Is he any good? Nobody knew. And we're like, yeah, he is pretty good. So let's play him more. Let's like, we got all these problems with our line. Put that dude out there. He's getting the job done. So hopefully they lock him up. Like right now, oh my God, 4 or 5 year contract. Get him in for cheap, and you're set at a tackle spot, and you have flexibility. I love it. One other quick thing on a Smith. So the interesting, a lot of people freaked out about this. The Packers re-signed Preston Smith and had him come back and extend him a little bit, and got rid of Za'Darius. So a lot of people were like, oh my God, we got Preston back, but not Za'Darius. What do you guys think of that move?
And honestly, I think it was a great move. And the reason why I say that is because, again, when you look at the amount of money that we would have saved by cutting him, we basically saved the same amount of money by extending him, at least this year anyway. So now I don't know what his contract looks like. I don't know what the void years are, but I'm assuming Russ Ball has maybe given him 2 years, and then the third, and fourth year, we could cut him if we want to. The point is that it made sense because, first of all, if you're letting Za'Darius Smith go, who do you have on the other side besides Gary? You don't have anyone. So it makes complete sense. Preston had a good year. Hopefully he doesn't have a crappy year this year, because he got paid again. Let's hope he comes in shape and he's ready to go. But ultimately it made sense. I mean, he had to do it. So,
yeah, and I would say the biggest key difference between Preston Smith in 2020 and Preston Smith in 2021 is the way he was utilized. I mean, let's be honest. Mike Pettin would drop him back in coverage like 40% of the time. What are you doing? He's terrible at that. I mean, they would do it all the time. And last year they did it like once a game. That was it. And otherwise he was rushing, or he was playing really good against the run. Preston Smith is a big guy. He's like 270, right? I mean, he can handle it. And he's got good upper body strength. And he's actually bigger than Za'Darius. He's taller. He doesn't weigh as much, but he's taller and he uses his hands better. That's the other thing about Za'Darius. He has a really long torso and short legs.
Yeah.
Which is a weird combination for a pass rusher, because usually you want to have long, I don't know. It's just weird. But anyways.
Right, there's more to target there for like offensive linemen.
Preston's got super long limbs, super long arms, and super long legs, and a smaller torso, which allows him to get guys off of him so he can make plays on the run. where Za'Darius gets gobbled up by offensive linemen because he can't get off the press. Maybe he's got the speed to get around on pass rush, but he's not as good against the run. And I think Preston showed us this year when they used him more in that defensive end role, because let's face it, the Packers don't play a 3-4 hardly ever. They play a 4-3 or a 4-2, and sometimes a 4-1, to be honest, but in the front with a bunch of 6 D-backs. But
4-1 and a Kenny King.
Yeah, and Kenny King actually looked okay at freaking linebacker or whatever.
Right, that
Sign Razul.
Yeah, well, that's got to happen. We got to get Douglas in here, but I think the Preston signing. The other thing that's really key is, like, a lot of people said, when they signed both Smiths and it kind of infused this new energy into the team, and they all focused on Za'Darius because he talked more and he was a little more outgoing, right? But I think Preston is a really good leader and a really good guy. And I think, Za'Darius was out there and aggressive with it, not aggressive, but like funny and like crazy and whatever. But he was a me guy. And we found that out last year when they didn't vote him as captain and he got all butthurt and made his own captain. But Preston is more of a leader guy who's there for the team. I mean, he was willing to drop back 40% of the time 2 years ago. Even though he had stuff in his contract about getting sacks, would get him more money. But he still dropped back and helped the team. With Za'Darius, even though a play was called to do something, he would just rush the quarterback every time. Because Mike Pettin even said it. Sometimes Za'Darius just wants to rush the quarterback and doesn't listen to me. Okay, well, let's see. Let's get rid of that guy then, because he doesn't do what he's told. It's the best. It's a good move. It's probably a little more than I'd pay for him in production-wise. But production is also play as a team on the defense. And we learned from watching them this year, when they play together as a defense, they can really, they're a top 10 defense when they play together. And I really feel like Preston is a key part of that. So I think it's a great signing. I think he's a great guy. I mean, when it comes down to which Smith brother you want on your team, you definitely want Preston over Za'Darius. I'll take a unselfish team guy who knows what he's doing and is able to do multiple things on the field over a me guy who just wants to freaking get 1-2 plays a game. Yeah, because that's where all the money comes from.
That's what he talked about.
It's interesting that Baltimore has since rescinded the contract that they signed him, and then they're like, you know what? We don't want you. Sorry. Why is that? Maybe they finally went back and watched the tape again. Because he has no tape from last year. So maybe they went back and watched the 2020 tape, and they're like, wait a minute. The guy doesn't even play. He's getting blocked by a wide receiver. What the hell's going on here? You know what? Forget it. We don't want you.
Did they also hear his quote, how he just wasn't ready to play in the NFC Championship game? And I mean, the thing about, I understand why the fans, like you're saying, I understand why the fans love Za'Darius. He's a charismatic guy. He's, makes the splash plays that you remember, right? So, and then he makes the Pro Bowl because of the splash plays. And so you think, oh, he's awesome. And then, but if you watch play in and play out, you see what he really was, which was a splash play and then a slack off most of the rest of the game.
It was not a splash play and then 11 slack offs.
Yeah. And then not even follow his responsibilities, right? Which is also a detriment to the defense, which was another reason. So Joe Barry partially last year, but also another reason the D was so much better is because guys played their responsibilities the majority of the time. You didn't have guys out of position, which led wide open holes for teams to exploit. So, and Preston's great at that. Preston's solid at that. Like, he's not a flashy dude, but he's a solid dude. And I'll take solid dudes, especially when you have a whole bunch of picks that you can get some edge guys in this year in the draft, train them up under this guy. And if you want to move on from him in a year or two, we're cool. We got these young guys to come in. So we're good. That's probably the plan. I hope that's the plan. Some other guys they signed back. And then we'll talk about a guy that they didn't sign back. So we had, they're working on Douglas. We've been talking about that. Allen Lazard's back. Ben. Allen Lazard. Aaron Rodgers has somebody familiar to throw to. He needed somebody he could trust.
I know. Lazard's got to pick up his play. He's got to pick up his play.
And he's got to wear longer cleats or we can't
fall down. He's got to do something. He's got to be able – listen. Prove to me. He had one play last year where I was like, hey, he looks like a 6'5" wide receiver, where he jumped up in the end zone and grabbed the pass and over, he mossed the guy. He should be doing that once a game. I mean, you're 6'5", 230 pounds or whatever he is, or 220 pounds.
Ben, that's why he's an undrafted free agent.
I know.
I'm just saying.
But then why keep bringing it back for $4 million?
Well, that's a good question because we don't have.
I
any
just
other
told
wide
you
receivers.
why. No, because Aaron Rodgers needs people he's familiar with and trusts to
Well,
throw it to, or he's not going to throw it to him.
And LaFleur likes him because he supposedly blocks, well, and he's big, and I hear you, Ben. Iffy.
I think
right?
MVS was actually a better blocker than him.
But yeah, it's interesting, but
I don't think Lazard is athletic enough, which sounds scary because he's a huge athlete, but he just there's something about football where you need to have agility, even at positions that you wouldn't think you need to have agility. Agility is a very key thing because you have this much space between you and the guy in front of you most of the time. That's what Devante was good at. Davante Adams was great. He has good agility, right? Guys who have good agility in football. Look at Aaron Donald. It's all about movement and quickness and able to beat your guy and having control of your body. Lazard has no control of his body. He's just a big, tall guy. He doesn't have agility. He doesn't move quickly. It takes him a little bit longer to get going. He's awesome. I love him. But it's like he's got to pick up he's got to do something. Understand what his talents are and then use them. If you're big, start beating up a guy. I go back to the interception in the NFC Championship game against the Bucs.
Yep.
That little corner beat the snot out of him to get that interception. That should have never happened. Lazard should have elbowed him in the gut and then freaking caught the ball. But instead, he didn't fight for the ball. The guy shoved him around like he was a rag doll and picked it off. It's just Lazard needs to pick it up if he's back. And now with Devante gone, yeah.
He really doesn't, like, I love him too, but he doesn't play, like you said, he doesn't play to his size or play like a guy that size most of the time, and that's not what you would expect. That's not what you need. If you got a guy that's a little slower and not as good, with agility and shifty, then what are you? If you're a big receiver, play like a big receiver, and that's what we need to see more from him. We see it a few times here and there sprinkled in during each season he's been around, but not consistently. And I think he's got pretty good hands. He doesn't usually drop too many passes. So that's a plus, but you got to be able to do more than that. You got to be, if you're a big dude, you got to play big. And he hasn't shown that enough. And I know he killed it at Iowa State. I understand. He set like all the school records. He destroyed it at Iowa State, right? But this is the NFL. It's a different game. He's not that fast. He falls in his face way too much, which also throws off timing of plays. There's a whole lot of issues there. And he's got to be better. He's got to be more consistent and better and bigger. Play bigger. Not be bigger, but play bigger. So so Devondre Campbell signed, right? Because then I saw something like that was changing.
Well,
he signed, but then they restructured him, or what's going on?
It's an
Agreed to
agreement
terms?
that's not there yet, I think. But Bruce is the capologist. So what do you got?
Bruce, what's going on with Devondre Campbell?
I thought I saw on Yardbarker today that it was official, but I haven't seen anything outside of that, so I don't know if it's really official. Usually, it's not official until the Packer website shows it. You know what I mean? Because they never show anything until everything is good to go and signed, sealed, and delivered. So, but I haven't checked the website as far as that goes. But it'll get done. I mean,
well, I think they didn't have the space to do it. But now that Davante's off the books, they certainly have the cap space to do it.
Or they were worried about it before Devante, was traded. Yeah, agreed, 100%. Yep.
Okay.
Can we talk about Randall Cobb, by the way, too?
Sure. Let's talk about
I just want to say something that, and it goes back to the Aaron Rodgers diva baby douchebag stuff. I mean, I hope to God that Aaron Rodgers gave him $5 million. It's just like, here's $5 million. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that Randall Cobb is forced to take a pay cut, be like, hey, you're losing $5 million. You're only going to make $3 million now. Sorry, guy. Where his best friend, Aaron Rodgers says Randall Cobb's his best friend. Of course, David Bakhtiari's his best friend, and all these other guys are his best friend, but, whatever. But his best friend had to take a $5 million pay cut so that Aaron Rodgers could get $150 million in his pocket. That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't. If I was a guy on that team, I would hate this guy. I would not want to play with this guy. But he's the quarterback, so now we have to work it out, I guess. Randall Cobb is way too awesome of a guy in real life, and he needs to wake up and get a new best friend if Aaron Rodgers is really his best friend. Because, good God. Okay, back to you guys.
He's a good Packer for sure. He's a good representative of the team. Okay, I got a question we'll start with Bruce, and then Ben, you can tell me what you think. So, since you brought up Aaron Rodgers, so remember when it was first reported, right? Shefty, some other people reporting Aaron Rodgers, 4 years, $200 million with the Packers, right? And then Aaron Rodgers had to like create this scenario where, oh no, I want to prove the media misrepresents things and says it wrong, so I can be right, and I'm going to get him one way or another. So did he actually take what was an original 4-year, $200 million agreement and go to the Packers and say, oh no, I want this to be 3 years, $150 million, change it, so then he could come out and announce it as something different than what was originally reported, so he can, one up the media that he hates and loves to do so much. What do you think, Bruce? Think he pulled that one on him?
No.
I do.
I think you're reaching.
Because the terms were the same. It was 50 million a year, and I'm petty Aaron Rodgers, and I'm like,
what is the actual deal? Bruce, you know what the actual I guess I didn't really look that up.
It's 150 million guaranteed, so it's not 150
guaranteed, right. Yeah.
So he wasn't incorrect. It wasn't right. It wasn't accurate. So
but it's still 50 million a year, and originally it was supposed to be 4 years, what they thought, and he just changed it down to 3 years.
I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you. And I mean, I don't really care. Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And, Aaron's going to be Aaron, and he's going to play with the media like he plays with the media. You just need to play well on the field, and you need to win us a Super Bowl. And then, I don't really give a rise. And, that's just my opinion. So
okay. Last question.
I don't really have an opinion on it.
Last question, since you just want to play well and win a Super Bowl, Bruce, and Packers fans are waiting for a Super Bowl. Now, a couple weeks ago, Mom brought up that, maybe if the Packers got rid of Rodgers, Tom Brady could come out of retirement and play for the Packers, which maybe he was contemplating because he did not come back to Tampa Bay until after the Rodgers stuff came down.
It's true.
So, Bruce, if that had happened, if the Packers said, all right, we're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers, we'll play a little hypothetical here. We're getting a whole bunch of goods for him. Ooh, look at all these goodies we get. Yum, 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 bunch of picks. We got Quinn Miners and, all this good stuff. And then Tom Brady's like, I'm coming back out of retirement, but I'm going to play for a different Bay. I'm going to play for Green Bay. And Tom Brady came to the Packers and won a Super Bowl in his first year, even though you hate him as much as you do. What would you have said to that?
Well, I would have taken the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say I'm not going to take it. But and by the way, I mean, who wouldn't want to?
Would you have felt bad about it? Would you have felt not good about it?
No, who wouldn't want to play for the Packers? I mean, I would get it if Brady wanted to play for Green Bay. I mean, we're the most historic franchise in the history of the NFL. I mean, why wouldn't you want to play for us, right? I mean, once you decide to play for us and win us a Super Bowl, then I'm going to like you a little bit more. I'm going to be honest about that. Okay. But, do I like him? Am I going to love the guy ever? No. I mean, I think he's, he is who he is, and he's an egotistical diva. Oh, wait, is that similar to Rodgers? Oh, okay.
If he's listen, all I know is this.
But he takes a lot less money.
Yeah,
Brady came back to Tampa Bay, and he was like, hey, everybody come on back. And guess what? They all signed back for less. And they were going somewhere else. And then they got the Packers with Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers, and Davante Adams is like, I'm out of here. Screw you, jerk-face Rodgers.
It's a leadership thing.
Yeah,
it's a leadership thing.
I get it. It always has been.
I get it.
Rodgers sucks.
But
not as a player, but as a guy.
Right. And even more than that, I could have seen Brady doing it just to show off and be like, I'll go to another team and win another Super Bowl in my first year with a totally different team.
I think he would have done it to mess with Rodgers, dude. Him and Rodgers for the last year or so have had this little weird Twitter feud and all this kind of crap.
Even though I think they like each other, they're super ultra competitive.
Yeah,
and Brady would have done it just to spite him. I mean, he would have.
I think Brady knows he has the upper hand on him. He knows it. Oh, yeah. And the only thing Rodgers has now is more MVPs, I guess. But that's it.
Well, anyway, so we'll get out of the hypothetical business and we'll get back to reality. Now,
let's go to your guy.
It's my turn.
The only sad news of the week. The only sad news of the week. Everything else.
Well, wait. There was one other.
What? What else is sad?
Go over the good ones. Recap the good ones. Recap the good ones.
It was a great week. Za'Darius is gone. Yay. Billy Turner gone. Yay. Davante Adams traded for 2 picks and 20 cap space. Yay. Rasul Douglas probably coming back. Yay. Campbell back. Yay. Lazard back. My question is, are we going to get Robert Tonyan back now that we have some space, or MVS? I would like to get at least one of those 2 back and then draft some new talent. But it's been a great week, except for one guy got signed to the Bears. I'm not talking about stupid the one guy. The one guy, I'm glad he went to the Bears. I'm talking about the one that sucks that he went to the Bears.
Okay. But
St. Brown can go to the Bears. He sucks.
No, I don't mean that one. Before I get to my guy, we're gonna do 2 quick things. Okay. Yes, we lost St. Brown to the Bears. That's yay. Thank you very much. But no, we lost Bojo, our best punter in 15. No, but we lost Bojo, our best punter in 15 years, and we kept old Mason Crosby around for a very high amount of money, which again feels like some Rodgers influence on that one, because it makes 0 sense to keep Crosby around.
Why does Randall Cobb have to take a huge pay cut, but Mason Crosby doesn't when he sucks? Randall Cobb didn't suck. He just never got the ball thrown to him. That doesn't make any sense. Which guy is Aaron Rodgers' best buddy? Is it Mason Crosby or is it Randall Cobb? Randall Cobb needs to look in the mirror.
He loves Mace. You know, him and Mace are tight and all that. The only 2 guys on the roster that won that last Super Bowl with the Packers. And the other part is, look, the Mason Crosby is difficult to work with as well. Because what are we doing all the time? We're changing holders. We're changing snappers. Oh, the operation isn't right. Let's get a new guy in here, you know, to make Mason happy, because, you know, it can't possibly be him that's wrong. And, you know, and that's fine. And I love Mason Crosby. He's been a great kicker almost the whole of his entire career, except when Eckes cursed him for that one game in Detroit, and then a whole season. Goddamn Eckes screwed it all up for all of us and Mason Crosby. All right. Then he came back. He was doing great. Okay. I love Mason. Stand-up guy most of the time. He's a little whiny and a little difficult to deal with in his operation, in his little unit. Apparently, when things go well, it's great. But when they don't go well, he's not the greatest to deal with. But the biggest problem with him, which has been proven over and over, is he can't kick the ball in the end zone. And we have terrible kick coverage. Every other team in the NFL, their kicker kicks it in the end zone basically every time, so you don't have to cover kicks. So teams are starting at the 25. Packers opponents start at the 30 or the 35, and sometimes the 40, because he can't kick it deep, and you have to cover the return, and they don't practice covering returns, and the Packers aren't good at it. So that's the hugest problem, the biggest problem, and the reason he needs to go away and retire, or you don't keep him, and yet he's back. And we lost Bojo, our best punter since Craig Hentrick, because of it.
Well, Bruce, do you know anything about this new punter? Is he maybe a good kickoff guy? Maybe that's why they signed him, because apparently he's a terrible punter.
You know, the only thing I know is he did average. I think he averaged pretty well in general as far as punting average, but he also could kick in the cold. So maybe that's what it was. You know, because apparently, what the heck was our punter's name again? Corey something.
Corey Bojorquez.
Yeah. He you know, he fell off in the cold when it started to get cold in Lambeau.
He did.
So I think that's what they're concerned about, and I think that's probably why they went with him. But no, I have no connections saying that's the case. But being positive with it, his average was decent, and he can kick in the cold because he's done it before. So. Hopefully they know what they're doing. I mean, we got a new special teams guy, right? He's got a good track record. He's got a good track record. So maybe he saw something and said, "Hey, look, we're bringing this guy in. This is a guy that I can work with. I can't work with, Corey Majibdito, whatever his name was.
Bojo.
Bojorquez.
Bojo. We just call him Bojo.
Yeah.
All right. Bruce is pretending to be Eckes and trying to be positive. All right, we get it.
All right, Bruce. Way to go.
Now it's time to go back.
That's why we need guests on this show, because I was always negative and you were always positive. Now you're negative too, so we need to have at least a guest.
But by the way, we haven't talked about salary cap yet. I'm just saying, maybe that's later.
We'll get it to right after this. We get it to right after this. We're kind of doing it. But
that's why you're out here, Bruce. Come on.
We'll get more in depth into salary cap right after this. Now, Ben is correct. If you hadn't heard the news, if you don't pay attention, and I got to say this bullshit, let me just say, because I was pissed. So I wasn't necessarily pissed to hear this, and I'll tell you why. But I was pissed because of the continued disrespect from not just the Packers, but Packers fans. Because so at my work, there's like one Vikings fan. I feel bad for him all the time. Every time I see him, I say, I'm sorry, man, you're a Vikings fan. And then there's one Bears fan at our work. And so I went over to her and I was like, damn it, your freaking team stole my favorite Packer of all time. And she's like, oh, yeah, we got our new center. And she's like, what's his name? And I'm like, hey, what do you mean, what's his name? He's your new center. This guy's going to clean up your offensive line to make you into a tough, gritty team. And then she's like, oh, okay. And I told her what his name was. She's like, okay, well, I know people were excited to have him. And then there's a guy right next to her who overheard us talking about it. And he's like, oh, who is that? Who is that the Bears signed from the Packers? And then I said, Lucas Patrick. And he's like, oh. Like it's no freaking big deal, right? No big deal. Well, I'll tell you why it's a big deal. Here, listen to this. Listen to this. The Bears GM, Ryan Poles. Listen to this, what he said. And I want you to think about this as well. Have you ever heard the Packers GM say this about this man? Have you ever heard other people value him? But here's what Ryan
Matt LaFleur
Poles
said nice things about him.
He did, because he finally
right
figured it
before
out.
the final playoff game. That's
Right,
when it took him 3 years to finally figure it out, but he finally did.
And you know who else did? James Campen knew he was good.
Yeah.
But Steno was one of his detractors. All right, so Poles says this was Ryan Poles' first offensive lineman signing, Lucas Patrick, okay? And, of course, Luke Getsy is the offensive coordinator there. He knows Lucas Patrick, and he's like, yeah, we need a guy like that on our team. He's good. Okay, we know he can play center. We know he can play both guard spots. I think he's best at center, to be honest, and I think he showed that last year. This is his quote, the new Bears GM. Lucas is more than just a football player. He's going to add leadership to our offensive line and raise the standard of how the Chicago Bears will play with grit, tenacity, and finish. He is a glue guy in the locker room and on the field, and we are fortunate to have him in orange and blue. We would like to thank Joel Turner and Turner Sports Management for bringing him to Chicago. Now, I don't know if Ryan Poles watches our show, but that's a bunch of crap I've said, and we've said on this show a bunch of times, and how we've described him about his value. And this dude gets it. Poles gets it. Getsy gets it. And they just landed themselves a new starting center who's an awesome guy, who's going to be a leader in the locker room, show him how it's done. And the other part, I'll get into in a minute. But what do you guys think about that? About what the Bears GM had to say about my guy? Ben?
Yeah, I agree. What?
Come on. You said I talk about him too much. Maybe the Packers didn't talk about him enough.
Listen,
Or
if
show
I
him
can
enough
take
respect.
Josh Myers or Lukey Patrick, I'm taking Lukey Patrick. If I can take Dave Bakhtiari or Lukey Patrick, I'm taking Lukey Patrick. That's how crazy I am. Because Dave Bakhtiari is the best left tackle in football, apparently. But I'm taking Lukey Patrick. And you know why? Because Lukey Patrick never stops blocking. Even after the whistle. And people get pissed about it. But I don't care. I want a guy who's going to block until he can't block no more. And that's Lukey Patrick. And he's the only Packer offensive lineman who did that. And now he's a Bear. So guess who's going to have to deal with him? Kenny Clark. And guess who's probably going to get his ass kicked twice a year? Kenny Clark. Because Lukey Patrick is going to block Kenny Clark into next week. And then we're going to watch the high number one defensive tackle in the NFL get his ass kicked by a crappy center. Lukey Patrick. Who cares about Lukey Patrick? We'll see. They're going to meet twice a year. And we'll see who wins those matchups. I got a pretty good idea who I think is going to win. The guy who keeps going until the end of the whistle over the guy who just kind of stands there and does nothing. Okay, over to you, Bruce.
You know he's not going to get outworked. I'll say that 100%. Kenny's more gifted, but you know he's not going to get outworked and he's not going to give up. Bruce, any thoughts on this? I know other people don't think it's as big of a loss as I do, but, you know, that's fine.
Well, I might not come back on the show after I say what I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
Positive
All right.
Ekes is now no longer here. Okay.
Okay.
So I agree with certain parts of what you're saying. I think he works hard. I mean, well, yes, I said that, but the Bears general manager also said all this. No, I agree, and I agree with him. He works hard. He finishes, he plays the end of the whistle, all that type of stuff. But I mean, I'm just going to be honest. He's not that talented of a guy. I don't think we're really going to miss him except for depth purposes. And I think Meyer will be better than him eventually. Ultimately Meyer has more talent. He was just as honestly, he was if he wouldn't have gotten injured, he would be just as good as Lucas Patrick at center this year, but he was injured. Next year, I guarantee he's going to be just as good as Patrick, if not better. And then the other thing that I'm going to say is that Kenny Clark's going to whoop his ass. Okay?
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
Yeah. And you mark my words. You mark my words.
Hey,
we will.
If you're right, Bruce,
he will
I
whoop
will.
his ass.
I will
And
come on here and I will say.
Yeah, you will come on here and you'll apologize to me.
I will.
We'll
And
apologize.
I say that that's what's
I will
going to happen.
apologize. I
We'll
will.
apologize to you, and we'll get a Sabre shirt. We'll put it on.
Yep.
And
Shockley Sabres, baby. Shockley
my guy kicks.
Sabres.
All right. If Lucas kicks Kenny's butt, like we
Which
think
he's
he
going
will.
to do.
Yeah, what are you going to do for me? You guys
Well,
going to shave your heads or?
No.
no.
If Lucas kicks Kenny's butt, then I think you, Bruce, need to invest in a number 62 Bears jersey.
Oh, that's
wear
funny.
that on our show because you're
Okay.
so confident that Kenny's going to destroy Lucas Patrick.
Hey, you're on. I'll take
And
that.
I'll pay for half of it because it's
No,
a
you're
special order. Actually, maybe Chicago, they might actually sell some of those damn jerseys. In Green Bay, they only sold one, and it's right here. But in Chicago, they might actually sell some because their centers suck so bad. Their offensive lineman is so bad for such a long time. They're like, oh, my God, what a guy who blocks people. Holy shit. He's on our team. All right, Bruce, let me say one quick thing to follow.
Wait a minute, though. If I have to do that, then you have to get a Kenny Clark jersey. If it's the other way.
Yeah, that's great. Then he'll be gone in the year. Okay, yeah. Do it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fine. That's fair. That's fair.
Wait, I got one thing real quick.
Okay, I
just
just
wanted to point out the
I wanna
difference
point out
between
about
Bruce said something about no, you'll be good after me. It won't take long, I promise. Bruce said something about that Lukey Patrick's not very talented. Lukey Patrick reminds me of Alan Lazard. Okay, Alan Lazard is not as talented as he should be. The difference is Lukey Patrick understands where his talent lies, and he works through that, and he understands that his effort is his best tool.
Yeah,
And
I'm not disagreeing
Lazard
with
doesn't get it. MVS has all the talent in the world, doesn't have, and he does have the effort, but he can't put it all. He can't catch, right? But Lukey Patrick he's the key guy of what I talk about with players. You can't have 1,000 high-priced guys, so you need the guys who aren't the high-priced guys, who aren't as talented, to at least play to their abilities. And Lukey Patrick did that. He did that every time he was on the field, and for that I respect him, and I will miss him.
I agree, and I'm not disagreeing. By the way,
Yeah,
I
understand.
But I think we
Ben
can replace him very easily. That's my opinion.
Okay,
I will.
Let me say this. Let me say a couple of things, and I'm gonna give Bruce some of his favorite things because he loves PFF rankings and others and other specialist rankings like expert rankings. I'm gonna give them to him because I screwed it up a couple weeks ago when I said it. But I love Lee's comments here. Can't wait to see the Kenny versus Lucas matchup. He says Myers will be a stud if healthy. He agrees with you there, Bruce.
I mean, he's got all the size and stuff. Yeah,
he's huge. He's huge. But I will say one thing he lacks that Lucas has, which is his other key ingredient that not enough guys have. And then I love this comment too. Lucas is probably still blocking as we speak. He never stops. Okay,
it's true.
So, and Zero said it a number of weeks ago. Patrick is always looking for work on every play. He's always looking for work, which I love about him. Now,
the opposite of Billy Turner.
Right. The other key element. So it's he tries hard. He tries his hardest at all times. His other key element, and which comes into play, especially at center, is awareness and alertness. So when all those stunts and all those things are going on and figuring out who to help, who to go, where to shade. Oh, I peel off this block and chip this guy, or I do this. I'm blocking 3 guys in one play, which he has done, 2 guys on multiple plays. That sort of stuff not many guys do. So even though he's not as gifted or talented or imposing as Myers or any of that sort of stuff, those things make him better. And I hope for Packers' sake that Myers can be that good, but I don't see it yet. Now, Bruce, this is what your statement said. You're saying Myers will clearly be better. Lucas Patrick last year was the number, according to ESPN analytics and all this, the number 3 rated center in the whole NFL for run blocking last year. All right. Number 3 rated center. That's what you're expecting from Josh Myers. Okay. What you just said before. And when I said he was the number 6 rated guard, that was looking at his 2020 season where he was the number 6 rated guard. So
in run blocking,
that was pass blocking for guards in 2020. Run blocking with the high point in center. I think it was like 3rd in run blocking, 12th in pass blocking for centers. Which is pretty damn good.
Top freaking half.
And that guard that they didn't say about run blocking. They just said he was the 6th rated pass blocking and blah 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 in 2020. And those are the only 2 seasons he's got extensive work. And that was the guy they just kept trying to replace.
Well, I think run blocking fits Lucas better anyways.
Of course.
Run blocking is an aggressive, in-your-face, work until you got to stop type thing, where pass blocking is more try to stop the guy from getting to where he wants to go. And that's harder for a guy who's not as physically gifted. Effort is more in run blocking. But, that's why Quinn Miners is so good at run blocking, because he was crazy. He just runs over dudes, right?
Miners. I'd love to have Quinn Miners.
Okay. Anyway, so back to you.
All right. Yeah. So really, really quick, I just want to go over this. I'm not going to spend any more time after this, but I guess Lucas had a introductory press conference with the Bears today, and I didn't get to watch it.
We got to watch that.
I will watch it. I'm not going to show it right now, but there are some comments here that I'm going to share.
Comments? Well, are they spicy about the pack? Or,
they're a little spicy. Let's hear what he had.
Lucas do that? I don't think Lucas
let's see what he said. Let's
see.
Well, not necessarily. Let's just find out what he had to say here. Okay. So here's some comments. We're gonna get into them, and I'm gonna shift over here. All right, let's take a peek here at Lucas. All right, we're not gonna listen to it. I will read some of them to you. So Zach Pearson. We're gonna cover the Twitter highlights. He says Lucas Patrick says he thinks he will be playing center in Chicago. Okay, that's what people thought. Okay, I agree. I thought he played awesome at center. He says Lucas Patrick said Cody Whitehair reached out to him within 20 to 30 minutes of the news breaking that he was signing. So guys are welcoming him in. Twitter feed. Bears offensive lineman Lucas Patrick asked if it's going to be weird going from Green Bay to Chicago. He said, I'm very used to seeing these colors. So he's ready to go. And then someone said, okay, he also said on the Bears-Packers rivalry, I've been on the winning side, and I'm going to stay on the winning side.
Ooh.
You like that? You like that? And then he thinks Justin Fields has got it. And he also thinks, this is one of my favorite quotes. He says, I don't believe football is a contact sport. I believe it's a collision sport. How he plays the game. So there's some quotes from him today. And one of the reasons I love the guy, confident, physical. Now, this brings me into my last point about the Bears. And I'm going to tell you, and I know they're not scary yet, but in a couple of years, based on what the Bears GM is going for here, they talked about a lot of his signings. They haven't been flashy guys, but what they are is he wants physical, tenacious, nasty guys who play hard. That's who he's trying to build his team with.
Dang it. So you tell me I'm going to be a Bears fan?
So if he brings in more guys like that on the Bears, the Packers better watch out. They better watch out. Because I don't care. Football is a physical sport. And if you can out-physical the other team, you can win. You can win. So the Packers need to start getting more physical as well, is my point. So anyway, those are comments by Lucas. You got to love the one. I've been on the winning side. I'm going to stay on the winning side. And football is not a contact sport. It's a collision sport, according to that guy. All right. Anyway. All right. Love my man. Okay, let's talk about MVS. Quick, Bruce, MVS. You're saying he's not worth a bunch of money, but I disagree. He's a key element to the offense, the only fast guy.
You can find other fast guys.
They need
draft
him.
the fast guy in the third
How
round,
much is he worth?
Round,
How much is he
round.
worth? How much is he worth?
Maybe $2 or $3 million, maybe a year, maybe.
Wow.
And that's
consistent.
I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, he doesn't run routes that well. His hands are okay, but he drops balls, in certain situations. He doesn't get open all the time. He disappears. And by the way, that's not Rodgers just throwing to Adams. he disappears.
Yeah, well, it is a lot of that though.
Well, I don't know if it's as much as you think it is, though. He disappears. I mean, he disappears because he can't get open as consistently as he should. And I mean, yeah, he can run a straight line, and he's got speed, and he can get open that way, and he can stretch the field. I admit that he can, but that's why he's worth $2 to $3 million a year, because that's all he can do. He can't do anything else. You can find a guy who's got speed, who can run and stretch the field in the draft, especially when we have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks now. So that's my opinion.
I like that last part you said. 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks.
All right. Well, they feeling, other teams have shown interest in him. He's apparently the Packers are looking. Yeah, Packers are looking at him. So I don't know.
What does it tell you that Lukey Patrick got signed on day 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 2-year deal for $8 million, but still, like somebody wanted him bad.
Yeah.
I will say that they got a good deal for Lucas Patrick.
Heck,
I mean,
yeah.
It's not like they overpaid him or anything. So I will say that's what disappoints me a little bit with the Packers, unfortunately, is they could have paid him that.
Well, they couldn't until now.
Well,
if
that's true.
They would have traded Devante, if they would have done it before this, then they could have easily gotten Lucas Patrick back. But you know what? For Lucas, I want him to be on the Bears because he knows I am the starting center. They're building this offensive line around me. And that's cool for him. And
Absolutely.
And the Packers, it's the same thing like MVS. I kind of want MVS to go. I kind of want Robert Tonyan to go. Partly, but now that Davante's gone, I kind of want him back because now it's like, well, maybe Rodgers will actually throw it to him.
Right.
So I don't know. We got to get. We're getting
I will
late
say
here. We got to get Bruce onto his capology. Let's go.
We will, but you guys brought up one. I just want to finish on that one point. Is that I feel like yes, and when I first heard it, I was like torn because I'm like, oh my God, it's the Bears. But at the same time, I feel really good for him because, like you said, he's not going to be looking over his shoulder all the time. He can help a bunch of other guys get better and bring that culture and his whole game to a new set of guys and show them how it's done. And also, the words the GM said about him, like that means you were wanted. That means they wanted you. They value you. Like that's important,
like Micah
right?
Hyde.
And he's probably never felt that as an undrafted free agent guy, as a guy that, the Packers kept around, but almost cut, tried to replace, drafted all these linemen in the last couple of years. How do you think he felt? So for my guy, you're wanted, you're needed, you're appreciated. Go tear it up in Chicago, my man. And kick Kenny Clark's ass so I can see Bruce and a Lucas Patrick Bears jersey. Yeah. All right, continue on. Okay, Cap, Bruce, what do we got?
So right now, Packers are about $22 million over or under the cap. Excuse me. So the great thing is they have some space now, but with 2 first-round draft picks and 2 second rounds, usually have about $10 million that you want to save for draft picks. But since they have another first round or second round, they probably have to figure about 12. That's kind of my guess. Now it could be a little more than that. It could be a little less.
15.
Do you think they're maybe? Do you think they're going to package and move up and things like that? I mean,
that's a good question. I mean, Gutekunst has moved up almost every time, which I hope he does not do, because we need draft picks and we need players. We don't need to move up, and we're not one player away from the Super Bowl. I mean, we're not. So he needs to just sit tight, and he needs to draft the best player available, and hopefully we can get a wide receiver, a defensive lineman, maybe a tackle. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe even depth at safety, since Savage is, kind of subject, So anyway, we got about 10 million, maybe 8 million right now that we have available. But what we can do is we have a couple of options, and I don't know if they're going to do this, but we have a couple of options with Lowry. Will they be able to give him some bonus money and lower his cap number by a couple million, or will they extend him? Which I'm iffy on that. But at the same time, if you're going to go all in at this point, which you have, why not? Just do it. Lower his cap number by 3 or 4 million, and then from there, Jerry Alexander, obviously, if you can lower his cap by like 6 million or so, get him down to 6 million a year this year, all of a sudden you have like 28, to 30 million available to be able to sign players. Of course, you take the 12 or 15 away, but you still have the ability to sign a defensive lineman possibly, or maybe a wide receiver, or something like that to be able to fill in that gap. So I think those are the only two options that I see right now that are available for them to adjust and raise that cap ability. Otherwise, there's really not a whole lot there because they've done everything already. They've extended everybody. They've cut the people they can cut. Mercedes Lewis, you cut him, you really don't save any money. So I don't see them doing that unless he wants to retire. You look at oh crap, who do you guys like? The linebacker
from Wisconsin, Chanel?
No. The guy we have on our team that you like, and he never plays. Special teams.
Summers.
Oh, yeah, he's
Summers.
gone.
Yeah.
Ty Summers, side note, did you see Oren Burks was signed by San Francisco?
I did see that.
That was super weird. What?
You know why, though?
Why?
You know why? Because they want him for – okay, he's got speed, and he doesn't have awareness. That's his biggest issue.
Well, and he doesn't play physical at all. He's a very soft player, which doesn't fit San Francisco. It's weird to me.
I know, but his size, he matches Fred Warner. Like, he's almost like a exact carbon copy of Fred Warner. He just needs to learn stuff. And I bet you they think they can teach him things.
Well,
I don't know.
Okay, good luck with
sign
that.
Him for that much.
Yeah.
They signed him for cheap.
All right, Bruce. Anyway, Ty Summers had a terrible year last year.
Yeah,
but continue on, Bruce.
And again, they could cut Ty, if they wanted to. It would save about $1.5 million. There's things they can do, but
I think
obviously Mason Crosby, they can save $2 or $3 million there. So there's things they could do if they want. And by the way, don't think they may not cut Crosby eventually. I don't know if they will or not. They still have that kicker on the team, that other guy. And if they need to cut, they may. But at the same time, they have some moves they can do. It's just they don't have a ton of moves they can do besides extending Jair and possibly extending Lowry or giving him more bonus money to cut his cap number down. So those are the two big moves that I see that we can get some more money to be able to sign, a couple of players. If they don't do that, then I don't know if we're going to sign a heck of a lot of players in free agency. Maybe one, that's maybe kind of a side note that maybe could fill in, but isn't going to do anything really to, get excited about, I guess. So
right, a depth guy or something like that.
I'm just saying, I really like Jarvis Landry a lot. And I usually am the guy, like, whenever somebody's like, we should pick up this receiver, I always like, no, that's dumb. Jarvis Landry is Davante Adams. He is. Except he's a better guy on the field. Like,
what's his market value anyway?
I don't know. But I know that he is everywhere he's been like a leader, like a team guy. He's a try-hard guy. He's a good run blocker, and he's got good hands, and and he runs over the middle a lot. He's not afraid of the middle.
Is he 29? I
don't know how old he is. I don't know anything about him. I just know from watching tape and stuff on him.
I think he's right in the area 30. But hey, if you could get him, not for a crazy amount of money, makes sense.
If it came down to like, I'm a little scared about having Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard, Winfrey, Rodgers, and then draft picks, and that's your receiver.
Agreed.
And so I do kind of want to get a solid guy who you can count on, and I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster is that guy. I think Landry is that guy. Landry is a carbon. He's almost like Davante Adams. He really is, except he's not as quick, like off the ball. I'll give him that. Like Davante has got him beat there. But I think what Landry does have is tenacity, a little bit more aggressiveness, a little bit more like, bad guy kind of quality to him, which I kind of like. But he also gets injured more because he plays that way. So I don't know how much. I don't want to pay over $7 million for him. You know what I'm saying? But if they could somehow get him for around $7 million, maybe sign him to a two-year deal for like $15 million with like only $4 million this year and then a crap ton next year, and they just let him go or whatever, and then we're screwed for cap space or whatever. But this year they go all in. I feel good about that. I don't feel good about Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think he's great. I don't know why people keep bringing him up.
It would never jive. It would never jive with Rodgers.
No, it doesn't
either.
work.
No,
it doesn't work. Juju signed.
You know, to be honest with you guys too.
Good. Okay. Good.
Landry is 29 years old. Yep.
Oh yeah, I don't really see besides Landry. I agree with you, Ben. Besides Landry, there's really no wide receivers that I would look at probably.
No.
At least pay a lot for. I mean, maybe you throw one in there just to have some depth and pay a little bit of money toward. But same with defensive line. I don't really see anybody on defensive line that I get excited about either.
Well,
the
scary thing is the Eagles just cut
Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, Fletcher Cox today. Or yesterday. What are these 2 days?
Yeah, he's like 32 though, isn't he? I mean,
yes.
Like that.
But I mean. And I don't know how much I don't know what he'd sign for. I mean, maybe he would sign a 1-year deal for like $4 million.
Maybe
just to show up and like stand next to Kenny Clark for a while. I don't know. Then Lukey Patrick would be in trouble if he's got to go against both those guys. But I mean,
he's a huge dude. But
he's huge and he's a monster. And maybe his play isn't there anymore. But like,
hey, I do look
in the bank for him.
I do look good in black. So.
he is very inconsistent though. He's one of those guys that flashes but then takes a lot of plays off. Is Fletcher Cox. So
okay, Rick says Juju went to Kansas City, so
okay,
that's good. But I mean, I'm just saying, I've always liked Jarvis Landry. I don't know why. Since he was with Miami, I liked him, and then especially when he went to the Browns, I even liked him more because he seemed like he was okay with it. Like a lot of guys would like whine about a trade to the Browns, and he kind of like reveled in that. I also kind of want to get into the whole Baker Mayfield stuff. Mom's saying, what about Beckham Jr.? I don't like Beckham Jr., Mom. Plus, he's hurt, so he wouldn't even play like half the year. He tore his ACL or whatever, so in the Super Bowl. So it's kind of like David Bakhtiari, Mom, where he might be back and he might not be back the whole year. So I don't think that anybody's really gonna. The Packers can't afford that. But that's just whatever.
Just a side note, Jarvis Landry was drafted same year as Davante Adams, 10 picks later. Adams was picked 53, Landry was picked 63. So
hey, I want to talk. You know what? I want to talk about Baker Mayfield for a second.
Baker Mayfield, he's your guy.
Today,
or was your guy a couple
today
years ago.
It was in the news. I don't know if Jason knows this. Deshaun Watson traded to the Browns. Whatever. They can deal with his 22.
Good luck with that.
Whatever he was doing. That's just fine. But the thing I feel, and I was a Baker Mayfield guy for a while, and then I would fall off, and then I would come back on, and I'd fall off, and I'd come back on. And he reminds me of Brett Favre, which really scares me because I don't like that either. But he's got that same kind of mentality. But I'll say this much about Baker Mayfield. When he got drafted, the Browns were complete mess, garbage, crap, couldn't win a freaking game. I think they won one game in 2 years. He came in, changed the whole freaking team. He galvanized the team, as Aaron Rodgers would say. And they won games. And for a while, it was single-handedly because of him. They beat the Steelers in the playoff game where they scored a crap ton of points and got a bunch of turnovers and we were awesome. They made the playoffs, for God's sake, because of him. And then they just turn on him after 1 year. Yeah, he threw 4 picks against the Packers and sucked, and that's why we won. But he was hurt and he was dumb.
Plus, he was going against Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, Rasul Douglas picked him off twice. Come on, he's the man. But I just find it amazing how the Browns have turned on him that fast. And yeah, maybe he's a pain in the butt. Maybe he sucks and is a jerk to people and all this stuff. I don't know. But we had a guy called Brett Favre who was a jerk and sucked for years and years and years. But he won a Super Bowl, and that's why he got.
Are you really comparing Baker Mayfield to Brett Favre?
He is Brett Favre. He's basically Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer. Baker Mayfield is a piece of junk.
Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer because he never came off the field, Bruce. He had his
Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer because he's better than Baker Mayfield.
His thumb was falling off, and he would not come off the field because he knew if he came off the field, he would lose his job to Matt Hasselbeck or Aaron Brooks or Mark Brunell,
and that's true. Bruce
Ty
shaking his
Detmer
head. Bruce,
Anybody
Favre
else
said
who's
that.
there?
Favre said that publicly. That's why he never wanted to come out of the game because he didn't want to lose his job. So that's
He
why
watched
he
Don
stayed in.
Mikowski lose
Yeah,
his job
that
because of him.
doesn't have anything to do with talent.
let
Baker
me-
Mayfield is not as talented as Brett Favre was.
I didn't say he was talented. I said he's like him.
Then
Let
why
me
are you even
clarify.
talking about Brett Favre and
Hold
Baker
on.
Mayfield in the same sentence? Come on.
Let me clarify.
They're the same kind of guy. They're
I
freaking
have to-
aggressive. They galvanize a team. The whole fan base was like, listen, when Brett Favre came to the Packers, was he really that great?
No.
Was he the reason they won games and was so great? No. He threw 20 million picks every year. The team was like, come on, Bruce. But the fans were like, Brett Favre, wah, Brett Favre. Because they were starving for a winner. They were starving for somebody to show up and take the team by storm and go crazy. And Baker Mayfield did that for the Browns, even more so, because they were 1 win in 2 years, for God's sake. The Packers in '89 were awesome. The best team, my most favorite team to watch ever. And it was only a couple years later when Favre showed up. It wasn't like Barron.
1993.
No, he's there in 91.
Favre was 90
Traded for 91. He started in 92.
Started in
and Mikowski got hurt.
92. They were like 9-7, 9-7, 9-7.
Right.
Yeah.
They were good teams. It wasn't Brett Favre showed up and the team was crap and then he made them good. No, it was a good team and he did crazy stuff. I'll give him that. I'm not saying he's a bad player,
exciting.
Bruce. I'm
Exciting,
just
right?
saying he did that for a team that was okay. Baker Mayfield did it to a team that was garbage, complete garbage, and he turned it around by sheer force of will. And within 4 years, the Browns organization just, see ya, bye. I don't know. I don't get it.
Plus,
I don't
how
get
many?
it.
How many offensive systems and how many head coaches has he had?
He's
during
had
that time?
3 head coaches
Mhm.
and 3 offensive systems since he's been there.
Now, let me just
Plus,
clarify really quick.
He had to deal with frickin' Ding Dong Hugh Jackson, Ding Dong Freddie
Yep.
Kitchens.
Yep.
And now that they got a good coach, Stefanski thinks he's the man or whatever. Or not
Mhm.
Stefanski. Is that his name? Kevin Stefanski? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he thinks he could he's more important than Baker Mayfield. And he's better. And he's the reason why they're winning. Maybe. But it's just odd to me that a guy like, it just proves that there's no loyalty. So like Devante, when he leaves and like, I don't understand why the Packers are, I mean, I guess it's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's 4 MVP. I get it. But it's like, it's just odd. It's just odd. I just find it odd because the team was nothing. They were garbage. They were crap. And within 3 years, they got them to the playoffs and won a playoff game. They hadn't been in the playoffs for 20 freaking years. They hadn't had a winning record in forever. And he turned that team around. And then they just are like, see ya. We're going to go with a guy who likes to show his wiener to ladies. What? What?
All right. Let me
get it.
Let me jump in and clarify because you're both wrong, and I'm gonna fix it.
Okay.
Brett Favre. So Bruce got all upset that he was comparing to Brett Favre. Brett Favre was not number one. Brett Favre was not a Hall of Famer, Ben, because he played, through the thumb injury and every single snap and all that sort of stuff. And Bruce, the reason that you can't say Baker Mayfield is garbage, here are 2 things. Brett Favre was a Hall of Famer because when he got to Green Bay, he had Mike Holmgren and that staff as his coach and coaches. Yeah. And they reined in the wild man. And then he won 3 MVPs in a row, the only MVPs he won. So Brett Favre was a Hall of Famer because in that time period, that coaching staff reined him in, made him more disciplined, made him play the way he should have played his whole career. And he got 3 MVPs and 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl win, and then Hall of Famer. Done. What he did the rest of his career was just longevity stuff. Fine. Baker Mayfield, you can't say he's junk or garbage because he's had 3 different coaches. He didn't have that same stability. He didn't have that same level of coaching. He had 3 different coaches in 4 years or 5 years. And yeah, he went into an organization that was total trash, even worse than what the Packers were. So let's just rein back both of those and clarify that. I think I'm right, just so you both know.
I'm going to say this. Wherever he goes, wherever Baker Mayfield goes now, that team is going to get 2 or 3 more wins. They are.
And have better commercials.
And have way better commercials, yes, because he's better commercials than Aaron Rodgers.
I'd want to sign a quarterback that would give me 2 or 3 more wins.
Hey, that's what Brett Favre did. Brett
Give me
Favre
more.
would take a
I
crappy
think you
team.
sign a quarterback to get to the Super Bowl and get you over the hump, not to win
No.
2 or 3 more.
I'm not
Bruce,
saying
not
he's
everyone
Bruce.
can go
I
to
think
the
you're
Super Bowl.
misconstruing what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's good
No.
or even great or anything like that. I'm just saying for a starving fan base and a team with an owner who sucked for years and the fans just wanted something to grab onto. This guy showed up and he gave them something. He gave the fans hope. He gave the team hope. Yeah, he takes it away by throwing picks every now and again. That sounds like a guy I used to know. I used to have to deal with that crap. It's the same thing. The difference is the Packers stuck with the guy for years and years and years. Even when they were 4-12. Even when they sucked.
And
I don't remember. A.J. Hawk was the number 5 pick overall. Why? Brett Favre was the quarterback of the team the year before. Hello, McFly. He did some dumb stuff.
Threw 29 picks and got him that draft pick.
And I'm just saying, like, it's odd. Like, why would you do this?
The timetable in the NFL for quarterbacks is just way different now.
It's
for
so different. Like,
but, yeah.
I don't get it. Like,
different time.
The whole thing with everybody with the no interceptions, and like Aaron Rodgers won the MVP because he had the fewest interceptions. Tom Brady had more touchdowns. A whole bunch of guys had more yards.
Yep.
But because he had fewer interceptions, that's why he won MVP. But he lost in the playoffs first time he got in the right away.
Yep.
Because he doesn't take chances. Baker Mayfield takes chances. Does he lose sometimes? Yeah. But does he win more often? Yeah. So what do you want? I don't know. But I can tell you this much. Deshaun Watson's not a winner.
No.
The
not
Texans
at all.
don't win when he's on the team.
I agree with that.
I mean, everybody keeps saying how, like, oh, he's the most talented. And how did the Houston Texans go from just 3 years ago we're in the playoffs and doing things and losing in the playoffs to all of a sudden just being terrible in like 2 years in a row? And I know he didn't play last year, but the year before he played, and they sucked. And he sucked. I mean,
Talented,
his numbers were great,
Yeah.
but they weren't leading to wins.
Right.
Where Baker Mayfield leads to wins and playoffs. And the Browns are going to find out the hard way, I think. And wherever Baker Mayfield goes now, that team is going to have, and some people, and I don't like Mike Florio that much, but he was saying the perfect team for him is the Lions. And that would scare the crap out of me.
Sure.
Because Baker Mayfield with the Lions, he would take, I mean, Rasul Douglas would get a couple more picks if he was on the Packers. He should come back. But still, also, he'd take some chances. He'd do some crazy stuff. He'd run around and it wouldn't be no Jared Goff crap, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And Dan Campbell would probably let him go nuts. I don't know. I'm all right. I went way too much on Baker Mayfield, but I've just
way too much. But
it blows
right.
my mind. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Well, look, he's right, like you said. He has leadership too that you can't. And Watson, while he has talent, has never been a leader, and that's a big part of the thing too. All right, so we're about ready to wrap it up. Bruce, we're gonna give you the last shot here. Tell me, okay, we're not gonna think about the draft yet.
Yeah,
Tell me,
later.
is there anybody right now other than Rasul Douglas that the Packers really should sign before we get to the draft? In your mind,
You mean in general, or from the Packers free agent side of things, or just everybody?
I'm gonna give you. You can choose. It can be one of the guys that the Packers be their own free agents, or it could be a free agent outside the team. But other than Rasul Douglas, because that's a given, we know they should sign him. Who's the number one guy they should sign back?
Not sign back, just sign period.
Or sign. I'm sorry, sign. Should they sign somebody, and who is it?
So
Before they draft, because you can make draft choices, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to sign a guy and then draft a guy at the same position like they like to do. We could actually like we could plan, and then if we sign somebody, we don't have to draft that position high, or we could see how the draft goes and then we can fill after. But is there somebody before the draft that the Packers should sign still?
in my opinion, there's not a ton of free agents out there that are going to be difference makers. That's just my opinion.
Especially for what we can afford.
Right. So what I would do is I would sign Bobby Tunyon. Would I overpay for him? No. But if he's available to be signed on a one-year deal that's affordable, I would do it because we have no tight ends, and we need somebody that can, stretch the field in that space and go over the middle. And Jace, before you say Rodgers doesn't throw over the middle, we need somebody like that. And I think our offense was better with Bobby Tonyan on it. I hope he's the same player after the knee injury, but I definitely think that's, in my opinion, should be a priority if we can do it. And if he doesn't get paid a crap ton from somebody else, which I don't think he will because of the injury. So.
Fair enough.
Let's get him back. Let's get him and Douglas, and I think we're good. Let MVS walk. Let's draft the guy. Let's draft a speed receiver in the draft. We got so many high picks now. I would actually just figure out who the best, fastest, whatever receiver is, trade up and get him. I don't even care anymore. If we got to trade up to the top 10 to get him, do it. Screw it. Don't waste your money on signing guys at this point. Unless maybe Landry. Like I said, Jabari, you know what? I take it back. Sign Landry. Forget about Tonyan. Give me Landry. Let's go. He's Davante Adams with aggression. I'll take him. Not as good as Davante Adams, but he's close. He's close.
I'm gonna go with. I think they should sign Yash before the draft.
Well, they sign him.
They don't have to.
Him back.
And then they don't. Well, you don't know. And then they don't have to worry about drafting a lineman or worry about drafting a tackle right away, and they can kind of figure that stuff out later. That's my pick.
Is Yash is unrestricted?
I don't remember. No,
I don't think so. I think we can. I don't know what he is, but I think we can. We have a pretty good option with keeping him.
I think out of all the guys, like with Chan and Sullivan, let him go. Tyler Lancaster, I love him, but I think it's time to let him go.
Dang. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like for money wise and stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's worth the money to bring back. I think Tonyan, out of all the guys, Tonyan, yes. Yash, yes. Everybody else, you know what? We got enough draft picks now. We can fill the roles with draft picks.
Yep.
I just think for the position, for the talent, the two guys that have the most upside and could be great, like you could sign them and they could be a huge player in the team, would be Yash and Tonyan. So, yeah, I agree with both of you two guys. And I think I love Chan and Sullivan, but I think he's kind of, if we get Douglas back, we don't need him. We'd have the three best corners. Bruce was right. Eric Stokes, he's pretty dang good. Jason kept giving him crap. He does need to work on it.
And he'll be better this year.
He needs to work on knowing where the ball is when the ball's in the air, and he's great whenever the play's in front of him.
Yep.
He's very good.
He can attack.
But once he starts it's 15 yards downfield, he don't know where the hell the ball is. He doesn't know where the hell the receiver. He don't know what's going on. That needs to be worked on, and hopefully Douglas can show him how to do that stuff because Douglas is great when that happens. And Douglas is great when the ball's in front of him. But I do like Stokes. I think he did good at tackling. I think he was great when the ball was in front of him.
Except for that last running play on third down that him and Jair couldn't stop on the Niners.
That's Jair and him. That's the other thing. Jair,
okay, I'm just saying.
I don't know if Jair needs to be the top of the paid corner and the guy can't get picks and he can't tackle. I am sorry. He can't get picks and he can't tackle. Yes, he's great at covering dudes.
I know.
But if the team decides to run at him, they will run at him all game and he will not stop it.
All right, since we got Bruce on here yet, we made him stay up really late. We're doing one quick throwback, and this is initial. We didn't prep you for this. We're going to end with this because it's going to show you how weird I am and maybe how weird Ben is and how maybe non-weird Bruce is. We don't know. We'll find out. All right, so we're going to do a throwback. Top five, your top five, not saying they're the best Packers, but your favorite 5 Packers of all time.
Johnny Holland. Oh, wait.
Oh, Ben will go first. No,
I'm kidding.
Okay, Bruce, you want some time? I can give mine first. I'll give mine first, and then we'll go to you guys. All right, so for me, my favorite 5 Packers of all time, this is not in a specific order because number 1 for me is Lucas Patrick, favorite Packer of all time. Actually, this week, I decided when I looked over everything, I think he is my favorite football player of all time. All time. Leave you to that statement. Okay, so Lucas Patrick, we know he's in the mix. Micah Hyde. Bernardo Harris. Dorsey Levens.
You stealing my guys now?
I love Dorsey Levens. You know that. You just reminded me how much I love Dorsey. I was trying to think back. And probably Sterling Sharp. So Those are my 5. All right. Who wants to go next? Ben or Bruce?
I'll go.
All right, Bruce, go. Most people on my list, people wouldn't think, but maybe Sterling Sharp, but otherwise people are like, man, what the hell is that?
Hold on. We got breaking news.
Breaking news. What is it? Rick's got it?
No, Packers GOAT, whoever that is. I don't know if it's a lie.
Packers GOAT says the Seahawks and Packers are nearing a trade that sends DK Metcalf to Green Bay. It's expected that what? Come on, we're gonna have to verify that.
What?
That's what Eckes' dream came true.
That is Eckes' dream come true. If it's true, I don't know.
My God. I'll look it up.
I don't like that very much.
DK Metcalf is a dude that
but
doesn't always try hard all the time either. He's super talented, but
he's super fast and he's super big.
Yeah,
but he doesn't run routes. And he's used to a guy just throwing the ball up for him. And I don't know if Rodgers has got confidence to do that without getting a pick. If they use their first round picks to do this, I don't like it. But
this week has been insane. They cannot.
We'll see if it's true. I don't know. I mean, I've never heard. I don't know.
I'm gonna check out some things here. Let's see what we get.
And that scares me. But I do like DK Metcalf because he's a monster. I mean, that would be. I'll take him over Jarvis Landry. I'll say that. What do you think, Bruce? But you can get Jarvis Landry and not have to lose our first round picks.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't want to give up multiple picks for him. First rounders, no way.
Especially when DK Metcalf was a second round pick or a third round pick originally. And I know he
was a late first round, if not a second. Yeah, I think he was a second, to be honest.
Yeah, DK Metcalf was a second. Yep. Because I remember Eckes being pissed twice they didn't draft him. Anyway, so, all right. I can't verify any of that. I see some rumors about it. I see, Sideline Scoop, who needs to work on his confidence and maybe what he's doing here, but he's got a question mark about it. Maybe that's where it spun off of. I don't know. Anyway, Bruce, your favorite 5 Packers of all time?
James Lofton.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I met him, by the way. Super nice.
I'm a John Jefferson guy myself, but okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Eddie Lee Ivory, because I love his name.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah,
Bruce is weird too.
Yeah. Brian Noble.
Yeah, Brian Noble was cool.
I mean, I'd like to say Bart Starr, but I didn't know him. You know, I wasn't able to see him play that much. So
yeah,
right outside your era, so it's hard to.
Yeah. Reggie White.
Yeah.
And then I got it. I mean, I love Rodgers, baby. So I'm gonna have to say.
Wow, this was good until there. All right, Ben. Get that taste out of my mouth, Ben. What do you got?
I like too many guys. I don't know how to do it.
You got to pick 5. I'm holding you to 5.
Okay, when it comes down to just favoritist of all favoritists.
Yep.
I'll have to go Dorsey Levens.
Yep.
I don't know what order this is in.
That's fine.
Leroy Butler.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
The Magic Man, Don Mikowski. I gotta go. Is it crazy to say it? I don't know if I can say this right now.
You can say it. All time.
Rasul Douglas?
Whoa!
Can I say it now? I just said it. And my number one favorite Packer of all time.
Number 1.
Travis Jervey.
Matt Hasselbeck. Period.
Oh, there you go.
Matt Hasselbeck is my favorite Packer of all time. If he would have played, the Packers would have won 7 Super Bowls, but instead, Brett Favre would never come off the field, so they had to trade him. They drafted him in the 6th round, got a first-round pick for him. You tell me how good that is. Packers draft Jordan Love in the 1st round. If they tried to trade him, they wouldn't even get a 6th-round pick back. I'm just saying, Matt Hasselbeck a hell of a lot better than Jordan Love. Okay.
All right, I do have to revise my list because I panicked and I didn't expect to go first. I wasn't going to pick Sterling Sharp, but I couldn't think of my guy, who is, of course, my guy, Tramon Williams. So I got to replace.
What the hell?
I got to replace Sterling with Tramon Williams. Sterling, sorry, I love you, you're awesome, but you're not in my top 5 favorite Packers. So Tramon Williams in there, high riser 22, one of the best Packers of all time, should be a Hall of Famer.
Well, I got to do some honorable mentions: Aubrey Matthews and Terry Mickens.
Fair enough.
A couple of wide receivers that nobody knows about or cares, but I do.
Well, Bruce
I love
had a
those two
bunch of guys on there too that I would not the big stars. So that's nice work, Bruce.
Yeah,
fan.
I was surprised there's no Johnny Holland or AJ Hawk because he loves 50 so much.
Yep. You're gonna love that
And
Lucas
who's the other
Patrick
guy?
Bears jersey too. All right, ready?
Brian Noble's a good pull.
Brian
Hey,
Noble, that's a nice.
another
that's a nice
honorable
pull.
mention.
Honorable mention.
Mike Pryor.
There you go.
The
Chuck Cecil.
Chuck Cecil,
Yeah.
but
He was
I like
body,
I like
yeah.
Mike Pryor for one reason and one reason alone. The only man Mike Holmgren trusted to fair catch punts for an entire season, because he was so worried about the guys dropping punts. He was like, "Forget it, we're not returning shit. Put Mike Pryor out there. He's gonna fair catch every goddamn punt," and he did for an entire season. That's all Mike Pryor did. Slow old white safety, just stand there and catch the damn punt. And that's what happened, and it was beautiful. And then the next year, of course, they got Desmond Howard, and then they had awesome special teams. But before that, they did the whole classic Mike Pryor, just stand there and fair catch everything, which was hilarious.
All right, Bruce. Thanks for all your time, man. Your insight, the capology, and
Good job, Bruce. We're good
of
to
course,
see
your
you,
good
bud.
takes. Ben, everybody else, stay safe, be good, and remember, subscribe.
Tell me why the unicorn,